regularly by Trey Lance, who they gave up a bunch of picks to get in draft. So I think it's time for the 49ers to rip off the Band-Aid. I think they just I think they have to figure out a way to rip off the Band-Aid. So here's what we know about Trey Lance. So we're going to check some boxes. We know this. He's big, strong, and athletic. So check those boxes. Now, Tua in Miami, is he big enough, strong enough, athletic enough? Mac Jones in New England, big enough, strong enough, athletic enough? Doubts there. So that's an issue. Okay, we know those boxes are checked. I've stood next to Trey Lance. He looks like an NFL quarterback. Big enough? Check. Strong enough? Check. Athletic enough? Check. It's not that. I've also had multiple discussions with him. He's smart. There have been multiple stories out of San Francisco. He's smart. Cognitively, let's check that box. So what is it? Well, he's a quarterback. Let's go to the throwing the ball stuff. So let's break down. He's thrown 71 passes in the NFL. Here's the rub. He's completed only 57%, and that's with Kyle Shanahan's offense. So Shanahan is known a little bit as a quarterback whisperer. Garoppolo, Super Bowl. Matt Schaub, Pro Bowl. Matt Ryan, MVP. That's the thing Kyle does. Makes all the quarterbacks like a notch above what we perceive them to be. Trey Lance has completed only 57% of his throws. And if you take out the game against Houston, and they were about as bad a team as the league had last year, he's completed only 52% of his throws. That's like Tebow. So I have not seen enough of him. I know he played at a small school, and there was a scarcity of games in his career for 2 years. But we know the big, strong, athletic, check, the smart check. It comes down to the throwing part. And I will say this, when I've seen, aesthetically, when I have seen him throw the ball, mechanically, I don't love it. It looks clunky, and that matters. I've always said Cam Newton's mechanics got significantly worse over his career. He completed like 59% of his throws. Sam Darnold, much as I love him, has a very slow release. It hurts him. Low completion percentage. Tim Tebow, super slow release. Under 60%. Even Matt Stafford, who's as gifted a thrower as the league has, sometimes his mechanics go sideways in Detroit when he was there, and his completion percentage would drop. So that's my guess, is that just the mechanics of him are not great. And by the way, if you're San Francisco, you just got to figure it out. You got to create clarity now. They're walking on eggshells. Like nobody wants to make the move. And here's why you got to make the move. Because for 2 years, Josh Allen in Buffalo, after 2 years, we looked it up this morning, completed 56% of his throws. Now, Josh Allen's got a bigger arm than Trey Lance and is a bigger guy than Trey Lance. So everybody went all in and trusted the process. And with Trey, maybe they don't have that arm or that size. But we know he's big enough, strong enough. We know he has a power arm. You got to rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. Because if you are wrong, it's okay. It's not ideal. But then you go get the next guy. Because everybody in this league makes mistakes. Think about this. The Rams are about as smart a team from owner, GM, head coach. The Rams are about the smartest team you're going to find in the league. They're certainly in a very elite class. They had Jared Goff in the building for 3 years. Every practice, every game, all that film. The Rams guys, they gave him a huge contract, and a year later, they're like, yeah, we made a mistake on that. The Rams guys had Goff in the building for 3 years, every day at practice, every game, all that film, and they made a mistake. So it's okay if you make a mistake. We all make mistakes. Drafting's inexact, and the hardest position to figure out is quarterback. But you got to rip the Band-Aid off here. My guess is it's not the big, strong, athletic, smart thing. And those boxes matter. It's the delivery, mechanics, and if you got to put him out there, let's see if it works. Because Josh Allen, I watched him in college, and I watched him his first year. He could be awful. I watched them against Oregon and Iowa. He was awful, wild, erratic. They cleaned it up. And he still can get a little sideways. But at least they got an answer by the end of year 2. I mean, you can't keep walking on eggshells here. Go for it, all in, move Garoppolo every snap for a year. If he can't get to 63%, 64%, got the wrong guy. It's okay. Even the Rams with Goff, all that film, all those games made a mistake. Drafting's hard. Belichick can't do it well. It's hard. Here's a friendly reminder from 1-800-Flowers.com. Mother's Day is Sunday, just days away. If for no other reason than selfish reasons. Because if that person leaves you and you don't make it work and they leave and crush it with somebody else, it'll land on you, that you were the problem. You see this in divorces. You see a divorce. The woman leaves the marriage and flourishes in her new life. The husband sinks. It was him. Wasn't her. She's great without it. It was him. So another story comes out today about OBJ and Baker Mayfield. I know. You think I'm going to pick on Baker. So I'm going to try to keep this semi-generic, just so you don't think I'm picking on him. According to ESPN's Jake Trotter, a very good reporter, somebody I follow, a Brown starter was asked about those YouTube videos that were linked when OBJ, just before he left Cleveland, OBJ's dad put out videos of like Baker and OBJ. OBJ's wide open. Baker couldn't get him the ball. And Jake Trotter talked to a Brown starter who anonymously said, I didn't look at those videos. I didn't need to. I saw it every day at practice. So I think I said this on the air. I'm pretty sure I did. I was told that Baker and OBJ were fine initially, but it got very chilly later in the relationship. And again, this has been my criticism on Baker. He makes everything harder than it needs to be. But I really do think, and this is a good lesson for me and other people, if you work with talented people and you're not a perfect personality fit, make it work as best you can. Because when you split, you will be judged when that talented person goes and flourishes elsewhere. You will be judged. And OBJ goes to the Rams, McVay and Stafford, and crushes. And crushes. And every GM in the league saw it. Every receiver in the league saw it. Every Cleveland Brown saw it. It hurt Baker. He can't get work. It really hurt. I mean, Baker's got a couple of things working against him. He's got a combative personality. But you know what? Jay Cutler got a bunch of chances. So did he. I mean, combative personalities. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he just got the highest contract. He can be combative. Kyler Murray's going to get a good contract. Combative personality. And he's kind of expensive. Not terribly expensive, but $18 million is kind of expensive. Baker's not that expensive, and he's not that combative that you wouldn't give him another chance. I think the OBJ thing hangs over him. By the way, OBJ said he'd be willing to go back to Cleveland once Deshaun Watson got signed. So that tells you what I was told about Baker and OBJ. It didn't work. So there's no reason Baker's unemployed. He's absolutely one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not that expensive. I think it's the toxicity, the combativeness, and the OBJ situation. And it really goes down to something, a fundamental principle I have had, a criticism about Baker. Just make it easier. Stop being snarky. Get along with people. Make it work. We've all worked with people in our lives. I mean, I've been in this business 25 years. I've worked with people I love, people I don't like. Just make it work. Just do the best you can. You're not going to be working forever. Somebody will move on. But what you don't want to do is it doesn't work at all. They leave and crush, and it lands on you. So for selfish reasons, get along with people. Especially talented people. Just figure it out. And by the way, we know this, that sometimes historically in football, the wide receivers have been bigger personalities. Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, he makes it work. Tom Brady, Randy Moss, he makes it work. I mean, Tom's the greatest example of he just figures it out. He gives of himself, relinquishes a little power, is there for the player. We know that wide receivers are the first to break the huddle. They tend to be the NBA players of the NFL. They're empowered. They're probably the most talented people in the NFL. Sometimes they come with a little personality. T.O. came with it. Andre Rison, Michael Irvin. There's been a lot of them. Make it work. Just do the best you can to make it work. Because now I think this thing lands on Baker, and it hurts him. Folks, he can't get a job. There's 7 teams that need a quarterback. It was a bad quarterback class. He couldn't get a job. What happens next year when the over-under on quarterbacks entering the draft is 6.5? In the first round? That's the over and under I read last week. 6.5 quarterbacks going to be taken in the first round next year. You think he struggled? How do you struggle to get work now? I mean, Garoppolo's got an excuse. He's got an injury. He had surgery. So it can't just be the money and the combativeness. It can't, because he's too good to be just sitting on the beach. The OBJ thing hurt. Get along with people, even if they're difficult. All right, the other story that we talked about in the last hour yesterday is that according to Mike Lombardo, reporter,